Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Reese, the game changer, Mercer. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing today, Bill?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for getting me on, man. I'm glad we was able to do this.
Yeah, you have a wild story. You've been involved with some crazy controversies. We're gonna
Yeah,
get into them.
yeah.
So we're
I stay in a little bit of everything.
yeah, you stay in the spotlight a little bit. So where did it all start for you? Where were you born and raised?
Man, I was born and raised. Well, I was conceived in Michigan, Saginaw, Michigan specifically. That's the city, real dangerous area. But I happened to be born in Battle Creek, Michigan, Cereal City. We feed the world.
What was your early life like?
Man, my early life, man, it was very difficult, man. It was very dark. I had one of them real troubling uh, upcomings, where my mom abandoned me and my siblings. She was smoking crack. Nobody knew who my dad was. I used to think my little brother's dad was my dad. So, and then growing up in Battle Creek, which is if you do your research, all you gotta do is Google Battle Creek, Michigan, check the crime rate, check the history. We got the most unsolved murders in Michigan. I grew up in the heartbeat of the hood where I wasn't Uncle Willie's son, I wasn't Mr. Johnson's nephew, I wasn't Sarah or Mrs. Kim grandson. I wasn't nobody. I literally was a nobody, and I had to fight for my right to be outside every day. On top of having to fight for my brother's respect when I wasn't around, people tried my brother. So it just turned into one of them situations where I didn't get to be a kid. So I had to make a lot of decisions being young and having a survival instinct. My innocence was taken from me at an early age, as far as like I never got to just be a kid and just imagine and just have that moment of just being a kid and just not having to worry about anything, right? Everything was
Yeah.
just always looking over my back and having to just always be on 10, you know.
Do you remember? Do any of the fights in your early life stand out to you?
Um, yeah, I think one of my earlier fights in my neighborhood, I vividly remember being in second grade and getting chased by my whole neighborhood, you know. And then when I got into the house, the lady that was in the house at the time, she was like, "What are you running from?" And I was like, "All the kids outside are trying to beat me up." And I don't know why. I didn't know why. And because me and my brother, we were adopted, so like we never really used to get to go outside and stuff like that. So like our neighborhood, my neighborhood specifically, where I grew up at, if you ran and if you started off running and you didn't fight, you would be running for the rest of your life. Until your parents moved you out the neighborhood. So like the second day when I went outside, they must have thought that they were going to get the same Reese. The lady that I ran in the house with, she was like, "Don't run your," she said, "Don't call yourself coming in here running from nobody. If you outside and it's a problem, you stay your ass outside and you handle that shit." So the second day when I got out of school, it was crazy. It was like one of the more Western films, like when they do that whistle and the tumbleweed rolls by, and I was like specifically, purposely waiting to be the last kid to like walk out the door or whatever and walk out the school, and it was like I'm thinking like the school's empty, you don't see nobody around. It was like I still vividly remember this. Nobody was around. There was no adults, nothing. And when I got outside and I looked to my left, I didn't see anybody. And when I looked to my right, I seen all the kids. They were all standing there waiting for me to come outside. Like they just knew I was going to be the last one out, right?
Yeah.
So then when I hit the door, I took off running again. And before I got all the way to my house, I stopped on this street called Ann Street. And that's when the epiphany kind of clicked in me. And that animal instinct and that survival instinct clicked, was like, "Why are you running?" And I was like, "I don't know." And it was like, stop running, turn around and face your fears, in the sense like fight these kids or whatever happens is gonna happen. So I literally stopped in my tracks and I turned around and I fought everybody that chased me outside. I fought like it was over 20 kids. Literally my whole neighborhood was chasing me and I fought everybody that was outside that tried to approach me, that got in my arms reach or tried to run up on me. I grabbed them, I dumped them, I slammed them, swung my backpack, ran into somebody else's backyard to where the kids kind of figured out like, all right, Reese ain't going. This is not going to be an easy one. We might as well just act like we were playing with him in a sense. But they really were trying to really hurt me. But it didn't turn out that way. And then the tables ended up turning because I ended up becoming the kid chasing people off my block. The same kids that was chasing me, I ended up chasing them every time they came down my street. Oh yeah, I'm chasing you now. Get off my street. You know, that type of thing. So that's pretty much how I grew up, and I had to fight every day. For a long period of time to the point where I didn't have to fight no more, and people took me serious.
did
So
did you know what you wanted to do when you grew up?
man, no, not for the longest. I really didn't, man. At one point I thought I kind of knew what I was doing. Like I didn't have no guidance. I didn't have no father figure or nothing like that in my life. So at one point in my life, I really thought I wanted to sell drugs. I was in second grade when they came to our classroom and they asked all the kids, like, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And all the kids were like, "I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a firefighter." And I'm listening, and I'm like, all that shit sounds dumb to me. I'm like, it's not realistic in my eyes of like how could I accomplish any of those things and be somebody that could actually do something effective out here in this world. So I knew I wanted money, and seeing drug dealers in my neighborhood, which was a lot of them, you know, they had the life. They riding in the nice cars, they got the girls, they got the money, and then I correlated that with like that's the type of person I wanted to be. At least that's what I thought. That was a very naive way of thinking. I know that now, but at the time, growing up, it wasn't a lot of positive influences in my neighborhood. It wasn't no such thing as like, oh, we're going to be like Michael Jordan was on TV, right? Everybody
Yeah,
wanted to be Mike, but it wasn't no Michael Jordan in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no
yeah,
Vince Carter's. It wasn't nothing like. There was no Allen Iversons. There wasn't nobody like that could really make a kid want to go to the next level. In sports or anything in that aspect that was far as being positive. So yeah, my neighborhood was a drug infested community. I grew up around nothing but crackheads and whores and prostitutes. So
so you
that's what
start
I knew.
falling into that life.
Yeah, it kind of just what to say, like you kind of be a product of your environment. By the age of 12, I was a menace to society. I was locked up in juvenile. They tried to send me away for a long time. A lot of my friends didn't know what happened to me because I didn't have the same lifestyle that everybody else ended up having. Like I was banned from Battle Creek Central by the age of 12, and I didn't even get to step foot in there. You get what I'm saying? Like I never went to Central. I went to one public middle school in seventh grade. It was called Northwestern, and then I got suspended on the last day of school. The police arrested me. 2 weeks later, I went to juvenile, and next thing I get a letter in the mail saying, "Yeah, you're not allowed to come to Battle Creek Central ever."
Oh man.
So I was completely banned for a while from the Battle Creek public school system for a while, to where like I had to go to my adopted mom had to go to court with lawyers and the district to try to see where they could fit me in at. And that's when at that time they had Battle Creek had developed a school called South Hill, and that's pretty much where all the bad kids went. Like anybody that nobody wanted to deal with, pretty much if you were going to pretty much be a loser in life, you're going to go to this school. You know.
Yeah, I went to a school similar to that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sent me right there too, man. They
Yeah.
let you swear to the teachers and everything.
Yeah, they let you do anything
Yeah,
in there. Like in there,
yeah,
kids fucking in the classroom, they doing whatever, smoking in the hallways, fighting the teachers. I remember we sent a couple teachers home crying. There's a couple people that really tried to be good people, but it was just like it's hard to be good in an area where there's nothing but bad shit going on.
yeah,
I remember specifically the gang violence in my school. I wasn't really affected because I was just one of them type of people where it was just like I'm not going. But like other people that was consumed by that, yeah, there was a lot of gang violence. People had to worry about getting shot, and our school buses got shot up a couple of times. It was a major school shooting one day before like, and it wasn't like how people see on TV, like where the school shootings then are kind of like triggered by somebody being bullied in a sense, right? Ours was really like street violence, like gang violence.
yeah.
So the kid that shot up one of our buses, he ended up, I think he might have just got out probably like 4 or 5 years ago from that situation that happened when I was a kid. You
Damn.
know, So yeah.
So where did your life go from there?
Oh man, from juvenile, I went to a boys' home at the age of 14, 15. And that's when I was forced to start really having to make some serious changes with myself. I had to learn I taught myself how to read when I was juvenile at the age of 13. I didn't know how to read. That was a real hard pill to swallow. That was part of the reason probably why I used to act out a lot because going to school, people, if they like the teacher call on you, ask you to read,
Yeah,
and And for me, that was embarrassing. Don't call on me, and I get called on, so I have to find some way to consolidate people laughing at me or making fun of me or trying to be in that situation like that. So yeah, when I got to juvenile, and I realized I was going to be here for a while, and I actually wasn't getting out, and I didn't understand the severity of what I was putting myself in. As far as like these people were really kind of worried and I ain't gonna say scared, but more like this guy's going to continue to be a problem. We might want to just get ready to gear him up for prison right now. So that's kind of like where my life was headed at a young age, like from 12 to like 16, 17 years old. No, really 16 is when I I became free again, but I wasn't really free. I got reintroduced into a foster care system, but they sent me to a program that was supposed to keep me for 5 years. But I became smart, my intellect, and I wanted my freedom, and I just became smarter, because and I ain't gonna say smarter in the sense because I had a lot of common sense. A lot of things started sinking in because you could pick up a book and read it and understand it. But having common sense, a lot of people lack that. And I think that was part of the reason that was where things kind of shifted for me because I started really listening to my inner voice and understanding, trying to understand more about myself that I'm not all these things that people were saying that I was, and that if I can get past my emotions, because everything I was doing was just masked by my emotions. It was just a way to make myself feel better, because nobody validated me. I never got the pat on the back. I never got the good job, you know. I never got you can do it, or any of that type of stuff. So it was always if I acted out and I got angry, I got attention. So it was like what they say, if you never receive love, if a person never received love, they'll take it off a knife. They'll lick a knife and think that's love, right? And I was kind of, in a sense, I was like that, So whatever attention I could get, because I never knew, I ain't understand anything about positive attention because I never seen that.
Yeah.
Besides watching like a Disney movie or some shit like that, it never was in my reality. As far as like, I never seen kids get pat on the backs, good jobs. There wasn't no dads in my neighborhood or nothing like that. It was some old men, but not dads. You get what I'm saying? Like, no, no,
Yeah.
we didn't have that. Ain't nobody outside playing catch with Jimmy. It wasn't that going on in my front yard. It wasn't
No
that
one
going on.
telling you to do the right thing or
Yeah. Well, not in this. I ain't gonna say telling me. More like trying to like put fear inside me that I should do the right thing. It wasn't. That's not how you. That's not how you raise a kid. When you want a kid to do something, especially to me, coming from where I come from, I knew my life was fucked up from day one. I knew the lady that was at that house I was staying in, that wasn't my house. I knew she wasn't my mom. I didn't know who my dad was. I knew I had other siblings, but I remember getting a whooping for telling my little brother that we had brothers and sisters, to where she whooped me to make me forget that happened, to like basically say I was lying and that it was just me and my brother. She whooped me for hours until I realized that maybe it's just me and my brother and we don't have anybody else, you know. And then I found out when I was like 14 years old that I had a brother and sister that was older than me. So, but for the longest, I just thought it was always me and my little brother. But I used to have dreams like of my mom, my brothers and sisters, and my other family members. But Olivia, the lady that raised me, she wasn't playing that.
so what happens next? Does your environment change by the time you're 16?
Not really. Kind of. Well, when I turned 16, I was still in placement. So at this time, I go through a whole bunch of like book stuff. Like a lot of the kids in the program that I was in, they were really, really slow. You know, I think a part of me was slow, but I wanted my freedom. So I instantly started like trying to do things to show people that I deserve to be free and be a part of society and stuff like that. So like I like the person you hear speaking, I had to force myself to speak like this. I didn't People could never understand me at first. You know what I mean? How I articulate my words and make sure you can hear what I'm saying and enunciations and stuff like that. Yeah, for a long time when I used to speak, people used to be like, "Huh? What you say it again, slow it down," like that,
Yeah.
where I really forced myself to become an intellectual person. I had to go through a lot of growth emotionally, which was very hard, which I didn't really fix any of my issues because I didn't have the time. If that makes sense, if I really think about the time that it takes to fix the shit that was wrong with me, I would have never got to the point where I'm at today. I had to realize that nobody really gives a fuck. I should stop giving a fuck and let me start figuring out what this future thing means and how do I put myself in position to take control there, right? So that's where my brain went, and that's how I became free. Because, like I said, they sent me to a program where I was supposed to be there till I turned 21, but I ended up getting out when I was 16 and a half. And at that point, they didn't want to release me because they felt like I had manipulated their system, which was weird because I'm like, it's y'all program. I did everything you guys asked me to do. I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not as slow as these other kids that they had coming into this program. I made sure that I figured out what the mission was because I wanted my freedom. So I was like, the lady that was my advocate, they called her at the time. Her name was Stephanie Knight. I'll never forget her because she helped me when I first got there because like I said, the program I was there for, it was designed pretty much like basically like, yeah, you can get your freedom, but you really won't get free after this. You'll probably go to another program, hopefully it leads you to prison. You know, that's what they were hoping. Because a lot of the stuff that they were teaching us in that program, you have to be like going to college to pay for it. You know, they was teaching us a lot of psychology stuff about thinking eras, uh, cognitive distortions, um, anything that it takes to be in psychology, we learned it. You know what I mean? So that helped me really. I started to identify what was going on with myself. You get what I'm saying? So once I started sowing those seeds and allowing those to grow, I started kind of like using the things that was around me to work for me. So one of the things that was an issue in the program where I was at that they had an issue with was they felt like I intimidated all the kids around me because you're supposed to like when you're acting out, the kids are supposed to restrain you. I had a couple situations that had popped up where the kids in neither unit, my unit or the other four units, and they couldn't call any other kids from any other units to come restrain me. They wouldn't do it. When they called, it was like, yeah, we need somebody to come over here and help restrain Carrese. They were like, Archer, Page, and they'd tell their guys over there, and they'd be like, anybody want to go help restrain Reese? They'd be like, no, nobody's
No.
coming. They were like, no, nobody coming over there. Nobody wanted to restrain me. And it was because when I first got there, I was probably one of the first guys that came to their program in full shackles too. You know, I came straight from juvenile. They had me shackled straight up. So I looked at like what they call
Jeffrey
that.
Dahmer.
Yeah, like I looked at like a real problem, right? So
Yeah.
one of my first incidents I had in the program where they call it safety control, right? And that was a safety issue where basically like nobody's safe because they don't know what I'm about to do or the person that I'm with is about to do. So we had a stand down or stand. What do they call that? Like when the police come to a situation and they can't
Standoff.
really stand off. So
Standoff. Yeah.
I had a standoff, but I ain't had no gun. It wasn't no guns, but it was more of a standoff situation going on in the program where they want to restrain me, but they don't know how bad this could turn out because I'm a little different than most kids because they have already heard about my background as juvenile with me knocking out staff, knocking out kids. They like this guy is going to be a problem, and when I act out, I don't act out for 15, 20 minutes. I can go for days. I can go for hours, and I'll stop when I want to stop. So it was one of those things like, do you really want to poke this bear? Do you really want to shake this beehive? Because once I get in this place of feeling like there's no point of return, I don't stop, you know. So and for a long time it took me a long time to get to a place of feeling like that's probably a place I don't never want to go. But I used to go there a lot when I was younger. But in this program, when that situation happened and me and my guy put our backs to each other and they wanted to restrain us, we had a standoff for like 6 hours. And they was like, what is it going to take for you guys? At this point, now they're trying to compromise and willing to deal with us. They like, what is it going to take for you guys to calm down? You know, like now because they see that we're not doing what you want us to do, and we don't care how this might turn out. We're ready for whatever. You send him in here, he's going to be walking away with no teeth, and that's how we were talking. I'm letting you know, I'm not threatening anybody, but if you come over here and you try to put your hands on me, I will protect myself by any means necessary. So whatever I got to do to get out this situation and come out on top, I'm gonna do that. And they wasn't prepared to lose like that. You know,
So they
I
started
was.
negotiating with you,
Yeah.
right?
So then it started negotiating like, hey, Reese, do you really want to do this? We don't want to call your judge. We don't want this to be the first report. Like trying to compromise and will and deal type situation. So when that had happened for me, moving forward, a couple. So I was on by this my last situation. I had a staff. She was trying to play a power and control issue with me. We was at dinner. She was playing around. But I guess I was wrong in this situation because I was abusing my power and my authority in the group, right? Because I knew for a fact nobody was going to do anything to me. So if I felt like I wanted to go to another part of the building and she wasn't ready to move the group and I'm the leader in this situation, she was trying to like show that she had the power in the situation to keep her job. I think I got her fired, ended up getting her fired because they said we was too friendly with each other or something like that. But I think it was just one of them things where she understood that I was a real motherfucker and it was just like you can't play with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm one of them people. You can't tell me one thing and do another. Because as soon as you do the opposite, I'm gonna be looking at you funny. I'm gonna be looking at you different, and I might do something to you. Or I don't want you. I don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? Just stay away from me, and that's cool. But don't try to like impose no type of authority over me because it's not gonna work. Because at this point, I have no respect for you. So and it became one of them type of situations where she thought she was going to get me to do some shit, and I didn't want to do it. And then she called all the units. She tried to get my unit to restrain me. They said no. She called the other boys unit that was next door to me. They was like, "Who?" They came outside. It was like because most people love to restrain other kids. So this was really bizarre for their program that nobody wanted to restrain me. They was like, so when they called Boys South because that was the unit that was next to me. It's like Boys South, we got a wild one. We need y'all to come out in the hallway and help restrain. And they came blasting out the front door. Like 10 kids. The 10 is the biggest of their kids came running out the front. We about to restrain them. As soon as they seen it, it's like, who y'all talking about? Reese? Man, they went right back in their door. Went right back in the door. They was like, hey, we don't want
No.
no problem. No, we don't want no problems with that. They called the Curtis unit. They called Curtis House. There was another unit with all boys that was like 45 minutes from where I was at, and they was like, nobody from the boys Curtis house wants to come participate in y'all restraint with Reese. And at this point, by this time, I've been doing a standoff for about 3 hours in the hallway, and I'm like, and I had already told everybody in my unit, I said, if they ever call a restraint on me, we not cool. And if you run up on me, you get in arm's reach, I'm probably gonna knock you out. I don't care about what you think we've been friends, pictures we didn't color together, or any of that. If that restraint ever get called on me, group restraint, and you think you about to restrain me and put my hands on me, I'm not going. It was literally only one person in my unit that wanted to restrain me. And it was this racist white guy. He was from like the UP or some shit.
Yeah.
Uh, he didn't have no help. I was like, yeah, Cody, come on, restrain me. I was like, restrain me, Cody. Everybody else stood behind him. He was like, come on, guys, let's get him. Nobody charged.
No.
So the program coordinator the next morning, he was so mad. He was so pissed. And when he came in, because we was cool. His name was Mr. Leptowski. That was his last name. I can't remember. I think his name was Kevin Leptowski. And he was a short guy. He was probably like 5'5" or something like that, maybe 5'4". But we was really, really cool until this moment had occurred. And he was really I don't know if he was disappointed in me or if he was just disappointed and angry about the whole situation overall because it just made the whole program look bad, because
Yeah.
their thing is the kids must restrain you. Where I come from, the staff restrain. I come from juvenile, and I had already told them, I said, I'm not restraining nobody, and don't expect me to participate in restraints. And if anybody try to restrain me, I will defend myself. I don't know what y'all think this is, but don't have one of these kids try to put their hands on me and you think I'm gonna be okay with that. I
Yeah.
remember one. I remember one, and they was like pretty much saying that if I never, I had to sign this contract when I first got there, and I told them when I signed the contract, I'm only signing this because I want to get my home visits, but I'm letting you guys know I will not be participating in no physical restraints with no students here. They said it's a good chance you might be restrained. I said y'all could try that if you want to, but I promise you it ain't gonna go the way y'all want it to go. I'm not going to be a safety risk. I'm just not doing that part of what y'all talking about. I'm not participating in the program. So long story short, when that had occurred, they was like, and I was close to trying to get my resident release status because it's a status you're supposed to get before you become free. And it looks good in court to the judge. If you make it to this level, that means you did everything you were supposed to do to get okay. I was literally right around the corner from receiving that happening. And when that occurred, 2 weeks later, they did their meeting on if they were going to give me my R&R, which is resident release status. And Kevin Kevin cock blocked me on my fucking resident release status. All the leaders in my unit was like, yeah, Reese deserves to have his resident release status. He's accomplished everything book wise what you want him to do. And then that's when they had, because the only reason I'm in this program is because my judge sent me there. He was like, I'm either going to go to prison from here or I'm going to get my freedom back. So I'm instantly like, I got to get my freedom back. I found out who my dad was when I was 13 in juvenile, and I knew my dad was doing life. So I'm like, I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to go to prison at this moment. I'm like, I need to figure out how to become a better person so society can let me back in. So that's what I was on for a while. And when the staff didn't want to give me my resident release status, and they were like pretty much saying that I had manipulated their program. So I went to a 5-year program. I completed their program in 10 months. So they were like, "Yeah, we don't really think that you learn. Not that I didn't learn anything from the program. I just manipulated the program to make it work for me." And
Yeah.
that's what they didn't like. And they were like, "We don't want to release you back into society because we feel like you might be, what they say, not even society. They didn't want me to go back to where I was from, which specifically is Battle Creek, Michigan. They're like, we don't want you. We're not going to okay for you to
How
go
are you
back
supposed
home.
to live though? How, like, after you get done with this program, like how are you supposed to pay bills? Where are you supposed to live? Like what?
I mean, I don't. Well, technically, most of the kids that go through this program the right way, they get they go to halfway houses. They get funding for money and all this other stuff. And typically, when you get to that point, you're like 18 already. I was literally only 15, about to be 16. Had just turned 16. They
Yeah.
wasn't giving me. They wasn't. I didn't even know nothing about being emancipated at that time because I could have probably argued for that, right? But I didn't ask for that. So when I was going to the high school, there was some kids from Curtis House, some boys from Curtis House. They was being released, and I'm like, "How y'all getting out?" I'm like, "You got R&R?" Because I was told that the only way to be free is you have to get your R&R. They was like, "Man, hell no, we ain't getting no R&R." I was like, "How y'all getting out then?" They was like, "Oh, we're going to foster care." I'm like, "Y'all going to foster care?" I said, "Can I go to foster care?" I was like, I had already got, and now me, I'm thinking like I had already got adopted. I'm like, can I go back in the foster care? Does that shit work like that? So when I went to my meeting, the staff was like, I had another court date coming up, and he was like, pretty much, this was supposed to be for my freedom, and he's telling me he's going to tell the judge what I just did, what's been going on, and what he really feels should happen to me in this program. And they were like, we're going to advocate that you go to a step down program, that you don't be released. And I was like, that's not what I was told when I got here. That wasn't the agreement that I signed up for. I wanted my freedom. I wanted to go back home. They was like, and I started getting mad, and I started doing my breathing techniques. And then they was like, Reese, you have made a lot of changes here. Not enough for you to be able to go back to Battle Creek. We feel like that you will be easily influenced and you will fall back into the same things that you've always been a part of. So I said, okay, what I said, you guys are not going to give me my resident release status. What are you guys trying to do? And then, what are you going to tell my judge? They was like, well, we're going to advocate that you go to a step down program. I said, another lockup facility? They said it was not really lockup, but I said I have to answer to people, and I gotta be on another report, and I don't know how long that's going to last. I like that's not what I was told. I said, what about this foster care stuff that I heard about with these other kids being released from that? And some of the people there, they was like, maybe we can try to figure something out for you for that, Reese. So then that's when they started like, all right, let's get Reese back in the foster care. That's when Operation Foster Care started back for me. And so I'm 16. I visit a foster home in Cadillac, Michigan. Hated it.
So is it
Food
like
was
different families? Like is it like different
no, it was
families?
it was a the lady that had a house. It wasn't even really a family. It was in Michigan. They got these foster care parents, right? At this point, they house teenagers. They don't plan on adopting them. They just house you. You know what I mean? So it's almost like being in prison, but not prison. what a, like your foster parent is your warden and your probation officer. You get what I'm saying? It's like it's really a messed up situation to be in because if something happens and you get into it with the foster parent and you might be in the right, you're in the wrong, and
Doesn't
you're
matter.
going to
Yeah.
be. It doesn't. Nobody's listening to what a foster kid is talking about in this situation.
Yeah.
Especially coming from a troubled background and causing causing violence and uprushing and just constantly being defiant, right? So nobody's and any kid that got that stigma of being defiant, it just carry over. Nobody's ever giving you the benefit of the doubt in no situation, right? Which is not really fair to the kid, right? Because who's to say that this foster kid or this foster parent is telling the truth for real? Why is he deemed more? Why his word seems more valuable than the kid that's in the situation in the house? Right? It's weird, but and these people literally only care about making sure they got the numbers for their bed. That's how they get
They're
paid.
getting money. They're getting
They're
money
getting
for it.
paid
Yeah.
for each. They're getting paid for each kid in the home. You get what I'm saying? They don't care if you're graduating. They don't care about none of that. They don't care if you've been abused. They might sympathize with you for 30 seconds or some shit like that. But do they really care? No, they don't care. I have a quota. I need to have at least 10 kids in my house. That keeps me at 20,000 a month. That's all I care about.
They make them do all the work around the house, right?
Yeah, treat them like slaves. You got in-house slaves. Do your chores. Like the one lady house I was at in Cadillac, she used to really finesse all the kids in her program because her house was always seemed like a fun house. But then really then, like the kids that actually stayed there, they fucking hated it. They had them doing all the farm work, just doing stuff, doing their chores in their house. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
it's just like you got to walk around on eggshells. You can't just go in the refrigerator when you want. So the foster home I ended up going to in Portage, Michigan. I ended up filling out an application for Burger King that was on Portage Road. That was my first job I ever had. That's the only reason I got released was because I was in the program. I went to her house for like 2 weeks to try it out to see if I was going to be a good fit, if I was going to like it, yada yada yada. But I literally only had two options. I had Cadillac, Michigan, and I had Portage, Michigan. Portage was very close to where I was originally from, so I'm like, I'm already feeling like I'm gonna go to Portage. And then I
Yeah.
started attending this high school called Vicksburg, which is a very racist high school, predominantly white. It's called Vicksburg Village. It's actually the history of this village is known for being the head of the KKK. It's like the headquarters for
Man.
the KKK. And then me going to this area at this age was very crazy because coming from where I come from, I seen every slave movie that's been probably produced in America. You know, not that I have hate for white people or anything like that, but I have seen every slave movie that racism movie that's been produced in America. So like coming from the hood and not being around white people to going to the program I was in, where I was predominantly by white people, surrounded by white people, and then the kid that I had the worst experience ever. The first time I ever experienced racism was being locked up, and nobody helped me in that situation. None of the staff was on my side, and they treated me as if I should be okay with what's happening to me. Like I should be okay with this white kid saying racial slurs to me. I should be the bigger person in this situation, which is it was never no consequence for Cody for being racist and speaking on my unborn kids and what he wanted to do to me. He used to act out very frequently and be like, Reese, you fucking nigger, I'm gonna hang you up in my house and have your kids as my slave and put your son as my footrest and you're just gonna be swinging and dangling from the fan, you fucking nigger. Like it's just like shit like that. It was just
Wow.
like that's verbatim shit he used to say to me. I lost a home visit because he had a racial attack against me, and I was the only black kid in my unit, and I didn't get no sympathy or no empathy in that situation. They just literally took my home visit away from me because they said I did not react the way that I should have reacted in that situation, which I'm like, I don't see anybody calling you guys niggers or anything like that. Nobody's making you guys feel uncomfortable for being in your skin or anything like that, right? So for them to do that to me and take my home visit, I felt like that was just more of a like a slave breaking mentality, trying to break me more. And it
Yeah.
was just it was a real hard pill to swallow. I had to so learning how to what is that called? Turn the other cheek, I suppose, or just swallow that hard pill. You just learning how to eat that shit. I had to go through that in there, and then going to Vicksburg. I think I had it was whispers about people calling me niggers and stuff like that, but nobody's never said anything to my face. And I think I approached one kid when I first got there that that was calling me a nigger like openly behind my back, and it had got back to me from the guys I was playing football with. And they was like, Reese, this guy has been calling you the hard R. And I'm like,
Behind
who
your
is it?
back. Yeah,
Yeah,
behind your
behind my
back,
back.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
behind my back though, not in my face, like telling everybody, oh, this is up our school, it's stupid. And I'm like, I get the word that he's saying that about me. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I said, so I tell people, I said, tell him when I see him, I'm fucking him up. He don't come to school for a whole week. I don't see this mother. Halloween comes by, first one of the first Halloweens I'm free. My girlfriend at the time, she ended up becoming my child mother. We're
You still got the job, right? You still got the
what
job
job?
going?
Burger King. Yeah,
At
I'm still
Burger
working
King.
at Burger King. Yeah, I was still
Yep.
working at Burger King at this time. Yeah, I was still working at Burger King. I was still working at Burger King. I walking through town with my girlfriend at the time. She ended up becoming my child mother. I see the dude across the street, and instantly my hood instincts kick in. Get right on his, run right up on him. What's that you was saying? You said you. I said. Some people telling me, you been calling me this that behind my back. He looks at me in my face, square in my face in my eyes, and say, "Yeah, I called you. What you gonna do about it?" Before he could finish, I hit him in his think, drop him, fold him like a lawn chair. I get the getting on him, pounding him out. My baby mama or girlfriend at the time, she grabs me, screaming, crying, Reese, you cannot be doing this to people. I said, I don't know who you think I am, but I'll die for my respect. Ain't nobody ever about to be talking crazy about me and think that you go walk past me and think that I'm not going to do anything to you. It just don't happen like that. I don't know what world people live in, but I don't live in that world. So yeah, I got on this and I beat it in front of his girlfriend and his mama while they was trick or treating. I ain't give a two flying. Went to my baby mama house. Nothing bad happened to me in that situation. God was good to me in that situation. I didn't catch a case off of that. Moving forward, so I attended Vicksburg. I think I had my daughter literally right before I turned 17. So I'm only 16 and a half. Within like 6 or 7 months, I get my girlfriend pregnant, and I'm about to be. And then by that summer, my 17th birthday. Yep, my 17th birthday passed, and then 2 weeks later, my daughter was born.
So damn, you're a dad at this young age. You're
Yeah,
just starting to get your life together.
not even getting it together. I don't know what direction I was going in, honestly. Like to do, I was trying to do the steps that I learned from being in the program, where like things that I setting goals, having ambition, like trying to figure out like how to be a part of society the right way, right? So I'm going through that, and I'm a very good influence on the other foster kids in my foster home. You know, my foster mom, she relied on me as far as like being a enforcer, and making sure that I kept all the other foster kids in line. I was a leader, not
Yeah.
understanding that at the time because I never really been a leader. I always been kind of a funky, following people, doing can't wait to prove myself type, showing people I can just be a bad, that type like that. Being in this position with my foster mom really really helped out a lot, with my personality and my curvature and just trying to be a better person because I never had anybody rely on me for anything or need me for nothing, or expected me to be better than what I've always been, right? And
Yeah.
she always encouraged me to be better, and be a better person. I think one of the first things that happened to me when one of the oh yeah, another bad thing that happened to me when I first got to Vicksburg was